The Origin series for 2020 is locked at 1 apiece after New South Wales won Origin 2 in Sydney. Yes, a 34 points to 10 victory, very comfortable from the outset. Geez, it never looked in doubt. And this is going to be a difficult conversation that I'm about to have with a couple of Queenslanders? Can I call you guys that? Adam, Blair, Wairangi, Koopu. Yeah. How are you feeling about that one last night?
A little bit disappointed, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, I always love a decider, but yeah, it was a little bit hard to watch. Actually, I actually went to sleep after 60 minutes and then woke up and watched the rest of the game this morning. So
you're not a true fan.
A little bit disappointed.
You watch to the bitter end, mate. If you're a Queensland supporter, it doesn't matter if you're getting towelled up. Watch the 80 minutes.
Yeah, I hung in there.
Good on you, Adam. Good on you.
I had faith that at some point, maybe, you know, the couple of sin bins that Queensland made, that could be a momentum change and they could come back and score a couple of tries. But it wasn't to be. I thought New South Wales were classy and just got through their sets really well and played really well. So.
Let's be honest. This is what we probably expected in game one.
Yep.
You know, we thought that New South Wales would be way too fast, way too strong, and way too much experience to lose to Queensland. But they did.
Yeah.
They did. They lost to apparently the worst Queensland team ever named in game one. So I don't know what you say about a New South Wales side that loses to.
Well, I think what you say, Wairangi, is that they're making the series interesting.
Yeah.
You know, you lose the first game and then you go up to Suncorp in game 3 and you win the lot, and it's fascinating right through to the end. You don't want a dead rubber.
We're not worried.
I think that's what all Queenslanders will be thinking. You know, I mean, why not make it interesting? Why not have that third game up in Suncorp where all the Queenslanders will get involved, and it'll be a tough ask for both teams, but it makes it interesting for the series anyway.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll talk about the game, we'll talk about all the good players, the bad players, and all the ones in between shortly. But first of all, we spoke about it last week. You wanted to see the biff brought back to Origin. It had been watered down, sanitised over the years. Last night, we see Payne Haas and Big Tino Fa'asawa-Malawi. I hope I got that right, Wairangi. I was close, maybe. And they go at it.
Rabs.
Yeah. Hey, you can't insult Rabs. He's the voice of rugby league and has been for about 70 years.
Yes, yeah.
But what did we make of that fight? Did you enjoy it as a couple of guys who like a bit of a
yeah, I
niggle?
loved the niggle. I don't know if it was a fight, and I don't know if it was worth the 10 minutes, but we called it last week about you know, trying to have some niggle in the game, and you could see from the onset of the New South Wales mentality about trying to go after them, and I think their first set, they get them pinned down in 15 metres off their try line, I think, and you could see that the change of intensity, the week of the build-up for New South Wales and how they wanted to approach the game, and you've seen that right from the get-go. So you know, it's great to have the niggle back, and you know, loved it.
People were calling for it all week. You know, we even said after that first game, it's just far too nice. These players are just too nice. You know. And ex-players were coming out in Australia and saying, you know, oh, there's just no passion anymore. There's no hate between the two teams anymore. And I suppose that was probably the one thing that I appreciated, is that they actually sort of got stuck into each other quite a bit. There was elbows flying and push and shove. But in terms of the fight, I give it a 4 out of 10, to be honest.
So where does it sit in the pantheon of great fights in State of Origin? Not very high?
Wow, well done. Well done.
I don't even know if it even gets rated.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a couple of sort of little jabs thrown, but look, to be fair, if you're on the Origin stage and there's a little bit of tension, a little bit of feeling there, you start pushing yourself. As soon as one person throws a punch, right, that person's going to get 10 minutes. You might as well go hammer and tong after that.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You already got 10 minutes. The other person goes, yeah, we might as well just play 12 on 12, and then you just go full on.
Yeah.
There was a.
So what you're saying is there was a missed opportunity in Origin too.
Without a doubt. There's opportunities there where if one person throws a punch, you've got to throw a punch back. Just make it worthwhile, I think.
We're not condoning violence, by the way. We're not condoning violence, but in the State of Origin arena, it's allowed? This is what we're saying?
A lot of people ask for it.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask for it. Ex-players, you know, everyone on panels asked for it, and they got a little taste of it.
Yeah. Well, Peter Bedell, a guy who writes for the Courier Mail, he wrote this piece through the week. I think it came out either the day of the game or the day before, regarding the Haas-Fa'asawa-Malawi rivalry at schoolboy level. Wayne Bennett in the post-match press conference, he made reference to this and said the boys would have been reading it, they're young, impressionable. The headline writer or the journalist has to take some responsibility for what happened on the field. Do you buy into that, guys?
He's the master of deflection, I think, Wayne is. I've been around Wayne a long time. Instead of talking about the way they performed, he's talking about the so-called fight and how the build-up from the media have influenced what happened on the field. So instead of talking about their performance, like I said, it's focus on taking it away from the players and focusing on a melee or whatever they call that, the little punch up the head. He
almost blamed the reporter, right? He almost blamed the reporter and said it's pretty much your fault why they fought. I mean, it's not his fault. They've had beef for a long time, and look, and let's be honest. The media now for the next week are just going, this is going to pump it up. You know what I mean? They want to promote this whole game. Now there's some feeling amongst it. You know what I mean? These two boys are probably going to have a go at each other again in game 3 if they.
Well, are they? Are they? I mean, what's going to happen to them?
Well, maybe
Will they miss the game? Are they likely to miss the game because of what they did in Origin 2?
NRL won't allow that. Now we've actually got some feeling, like some hate back between the two teams. You know what I mean? But whether it happens or not, because I did see that in Payne Haas's post-match interview, he said that his mum is going to be filthy at him. So is his grandma. He's probably going to get in trouble.
I saw Payne calling him over. When he was walking off, I was like, oh, this will be interesting. A player calling him off. The last time I saw that was myself, bloody walking off the field when I played
Glenn Stewart.
He wasn't calling me off like that, but I thought something was going to happen. But I was like, this is going to be interesting. Let's see what happens here. Two big blokes going at it, but wasn't to be.
Well, unfortunately, the ref got in the way, didn't he? The way he managed it. I think they referenced it. Was it Cooper Cronk in Fox Sports coverage? He said, we could have had a Blair Stewart Volume 2 with the two lads in Origin 2, but it wasn't to be because the referee waited for Haas to leave the field before he sent the Queenslander, which is unfortunate.
Too smart.
Yeah. I mean, how weird is it for you, Adam, that you're sitting back at home, you're watching this match, and they reference something that you did all those years ago?
Still probably one of the greatest fights ever on a...
Oh, it was epic, wasn't it?
It still comes up today, and most people will come up forever. And my wife always says stuff to me. She's like, why are they referring back to 2011? It's 2020 now, and I found it hard that it always comes up because my kids are watching, and I obviously don't want my kids to be going around throwing punches on the field, so not condoning any violence, but it's a long time. But they've obviously learnt their lessons from then because it's brought up so much about, making sure that the other person's off the field before they send someone off. But it doesn't bother me anymore. I'm done now. So those were the good old days when you're allowed to have fights, and you're not allowed to do that anymore because you're in the bin.
It'll go down. Blair and Tamati, the two biggest New Zealand fighters on the fights on the field in history.
All right, let's put the fight to one side and let's talk about the game itself. How big of an impact was the Cameron Munster concussion? He left the field in like the first minute or two, and Ben Hunt had to come on. How pivotal was that for Queensland's chances, Adam?
Yeah, I think a very clinical moment where he goes off. It's a hard one with the concussion. He jumps up high, gets a whacks his head hard on the ground, and those things happen accidentally. I thought, after game 1, how Cameron Munster played and the way he plays with numbers around him, but then not having him there, then having Ben Hunt come in where they may have trained all week with Cameron Munster. So the boys inside and outside understand how Cameron Munster plays and the way he defends. Ben Hunt comes on the field, and I think they lacked a lot of communication down on the try line when they score those tries on their left-hand side. Obviously, the connection isn't as strong as it was in game 1 because they had Cameron Munster out there, so the boys outside may have felt a little bit threatened, but a lot of the tries come inside Ben Hunt with Kaufusi coming out of the line, trying to put pressure on players, then having walk out wide, coming back inside Ben Hunt where he was overcompensating and heading out before he's come up nice and square. So a lot of the tries were back inside Ben Hunt. On
the incident itself that saw Cameron Munster removed from the field, Do you think they should have looked at that a little bit
Yeah,
harder?
100%.
Oh.
100% they should.
Sorry, I forgot where I was.
I paused and rewind about 4 or 5 times on that. It was actually just such a grub act.
Oh, from Tyson Frizzell, yeah.
Oh, mate, he was tackled in the air, and I'm pretty sure I saw him slam his head on the ground.
I don't know if I saw that.
Completely cussed it. Mate, if you watch it again, it's pretty obvious that New South Wales' intention of taking out our key playmaker in game 2, and then we were down to obviously 16 men for the rest of the remainder of the game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the other point, isn't it? You know, it totally affects the bench rotation and what Wayne Bennett can do with it.
Yeah, they would have had Ben Hunt coming in at hooker, maybe to give Friend a bit of a rest after last week's episode with all his tackling and the tackle count. So, and I saw Friend got a bit of a head knock as well. I think Nathan Brown come off his first run, elbows right up.
Yeah.
To the throat, similar to what we were talking about last week when you got hit in the throat. He ran like that, got him down. So they would have kind of had a bit of a disruption in the structure of how they were going to play.
Nathan Cleary, he's been lauded for that performance. Last week, he was castigated, and probably rightly so. I don't think he stood up in game 1, but game 2, he was phenomenal. How did his running game, his kicking game change things for New South Wales?
What did you say?
Castigated.
Castigated. Is that like giving somebody a kick up the arse?
Told off, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. Yeah, sweet. Okay, then. Yeah, no, that's you're right. Right.
Hang on, I'm pretty sure I can find. Yeah. Adam, can you just check? Is there a dictionary or the source?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I knew what that was. I was just checking, making sure that happened.
Yeah,
going on
thanks
as well.
for that. Yeah.
No worries. No, you're right. I mean, this is the game we thought it'd have in game 1, and he got lost a little bit through that game 1 series, and then obviously come out in that second game. He was fantastic. Probably one of the better games he's played, even through the NRL season. So he directed them really well. His kicking game was sensational. Every time he decided to have a go at the line, he was threatening. He pushed through a couple of times, but yeah, it's really what they wanted out of obviously Nathan Cleary and I suppose partnering up with Cody Walker, that's going to be their halves going forward into game 3. So, he was fantastic, and I'm hoping that the boys maybe can do a Cameron Munster on him early in game 3. Maybe slam him into the ground really hard so that they take him
not that we're encouraging violence. We don't here. We seriously don't.
But if he accidentally gets thrown to the ground and knocks himself out,
so be it.
That would be ideal.
Say LRB. Yeah.
I just thought that their starting pack laid the platform for those boys to be able to play the way they did. I thought they used their middles really well. They got some wider passes and got onto Cherry Evans a lot. I know Crichton was Angus Crichton was straight on Cherry Evans. I know Cherry Evans didn't look like he was moving up off the line, so they were making a lot of metres there, getting down early, quick play of the balls, and allowed Cody Walker and Nathan Cleary just to be flat onto the ball and running those nice lines. And he made a couple of little breaks in behind the ruck, just being up and having that ruck awareness. But then it allows them to play a bit of width where Cody Walker comes into his own when there's a little bit of width. So they go to the sideline, spread the ball right out there, running your numbers out there and having Cody walk out the back of some block plays and just being him, playing what he sees and just having that awareness and doing what he does really well. I thought, the kicks were only made good by Addo-Carr's chases. I seen he clocked up 37 Ks speed bloody for the game, one of his highest speed must be all year. I think I've seen some 36s, but he got a 37. But the kick's only as good as your chases, and he was on those chases, and he had commitment, he had effort, and everything that it takes. That as a team, you just stand back and you just clap, especially if you're a middle forward and you've just been, you've been defending your butts off, you've been running hard, and then Cleary, he puts a third tackle kick in or a fourth tackle, you're thinking, what are you doing? As a forward, you're just like, please. And then, Addo-Carr gets down there and chases the way he did, puts a lot of pressure on Queensland. So coming out of their own half of a drop kick, attacking, it's all over.
Just on Nathan Cleary before we move on, how desperate would he have been to have put in a performance like that in Origin 2, given what happened in the grand final against Melbourne and what happened in game 1? Because, a couple of games and you're starting to doubt yourself, even though you've had a wonderful year. Yeah,
they said it was a bit of a roller coaster ride for him over the last couple of weeks, and that would have been like, it would have been hard for him after last week, knowing that the quality of the side that they had and then going down to Queensland. And, some of the ones like Joey and stuff were saying maybe he should have rested in game 2 and put Luke Keary and Cody Walker in there, just because he's had such a sort of hard couple of weeks of rugby league. But man, he stood up. The quality of the kid, he was fantastic. And I'll tell you what, those two wingers for Queensland, especially Sammy, they're going to have to adjust very, very quickly over the next coming week, because they were targeted, especially by Cleary's kicks. They're under a whole heap of pressure, and it's one thing to I suppose negate those things that Nathan Cleary does. It's another thing to try and prevent them or stop them from doing that during the game. But yeah, it's a tough task for those boys.
Yeah, I thought they would have targeted Coates like they did from the first game. Obviously high on confidence after their performance. Even some of his interviews, he couldn't really talk. So I knew they were going to come out and try and put some pressure on him. Obviously dropped a few balls early, and they just kept targeting him down that side. I know he scored early, so he would have been confident with that, but then dropping a couple of balls. As a young kid, I saw Cherry Evans, just as the second half come on, go over to him and talk to him. So maybe he was giving him a little bit of a boost about just backing yourself, having confidence in your ability. But if it just keeps coming and coming and coming, you start doubting yourself, especially when things are going well. Then when things are going wrong, how do you get out of it? And it's quite hard for a young kid to be able to, I guess if you haven't been in those situations, those tough situations in the Origin game, then you want to find your way out of it. You don't know how to find your way out of it. And I thought he was not really good under the high balls, as we knew, but he'll be better for it. Tougher situations now, and knows how to come out of it, and how just to back himself to be the player he is and why he is there.
Yeah. Look, it wasn't all bad for Coates out there on the wing. He scored one of the most spectacular tries you'll ever see. What is it about wing play in 2020 that allows these guys to execute the way that they do? Is it something that's done in training, Adam? I mean, do you see the likes of...
First of all, Goran, you're talking to two back rowers here.
No, I know, but Adam's been playing with Ken Romalo and David Fusatu'a as recently as this year.
I've tried it, but I'm too stiff to even do what they did. I'm too worried about maybe even breaking my neck trying to do a flip over the top. Mate, these kids are unbelievable. The things that they do, I don't even know. You do see it at training at times, and you wonder why they're doing it, because it's just training, you know what I mean? Like, don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. Don't worry. Don't just wait till game day to do it. But sometimes it does just come out on game days. Sometimes that's how you got to score tries. And now that the corner flag is not out, you can do stuff like that. You can jump around and put your hand out and try and score around the corner. I thought it was a unbelievable try for a young kid in Origin to... I don't even know if he had to do that. I knew Tedesco was coming really quickly, but even then, defending that now, when people can do those kind of things, it's not about, I guess, pushing the player now. It's trying to look for the arm that they're holding down at one end, because it's obviously your grip has to be really good on those dives. So it's when you're defending it, don't try and push them out. We're trying to go for the arm now these days, and that's the only way you can defend it. If he gets over the top of you, then stand there and applaud.
Yeah. A couple of strange things happened last night. One in each half. Queensland defending from a scrum.
Yep.
New South Wales in possession. And they were outnumbered, 3 versus 4. What happened there? Was it just a simple case of bad counting, bad communication?
Well, I think you can get away with it the first time, that you didn't get your numbers right, or they swung around late and it causes disruption to the defensive line, and you think, yeah, maybe we can defend it with 3. But the second and third time, maybe the fourth time that they got down there, something needs to happen, something needs to change. And again, if that's not your senior player's job, I can see that if I'm a middle player, if someone scored off a play like that, I'm telling you guys, like, that needs to be sorted out now. Otherwise, they're going to score exactly the same try again. And they never changed it. And they scored 2 tries off it. They were lucky not to score 3 tries off exactly the same play.
Last week, Dane Gagai was pretty much the best player on the face of the planet. And you guys agreed with that. Did he run out of mana or something in game 2? Because there wasn't much, other than the draw and pass to Coates. There was nothing, Wairangi.
Not necessarily, but we go back to that thing where New South Wales tried to rectify what they did wrong, and also try and shut down anything that Queensland may look to benefit from. And that was one of the major things, right? Gagai ran amok last week over Whiten.
Yeah.
And so this week, they really numbered up on him. They did their best to shut him down as quickly as possible. I think Capewell was the same thing. Capewell, he had a great game in that game 1, and then the second game, you could tell they just focused a little bit more on what they knew that they would bring to the game. And, you know, it's not necessarily a case of Gagai didn't have a great game. It's just that he wasn't allowed to do what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think they just starved them of the ball.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And when they had an opportunity to attack, it was coming off their try line. So imagine someone trying to, you know, your best centres just winning one out off the sideline or off the middle of the field, 10 metres off your try line. It's hard to do anything from that point. So I think they just starved them of the ball. The momentum that New South Wales had throughout the game just kept them on the front foot the whole time. So it didn't allow them to shift the ball out wide to get early ball to Gagai, to give him those opportunities. So the game plan was perfect. They had great width. They played a great style, a brand of footy, kicked early, Addo-Carr chased hard and starved them of the ball.
All right, guys, we've got a decider Wednesday in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Have you guys been to
the Fortress?
Have you been to the Fortress for an Origin game?
It's outstanding.
Oh, so talk us through it. What's it like?
It's the atmosphere that makes Suncorp Stadium. You know, I guess played a lot of games at Suncorp with the Broncos as well. The stadium's nice and everything's good there, but it's the atmosphere. Imagine playing every game that you play for NRL club week in, week out, 35,000 plus people. It's like playing a grand final every week, and those are the games that you want to be involved with because it lifts you up as a player. Because I know this year was hard with no fans and stuff, but running out onto Suncorp on an Origin match would be crazy good. I remember running out on a grand final with Storm, who played Para, and it was just yellow everywhere, but it gave me goosebumps and it made me like, yeah, let's stuff these guys, let's go and get them. But it brings the best. I think it brings the best.
That's my favourite team you're talking about there.
It brings the best out of players. I think it brings the best out of players, and Origin level is another level, and they won't need much, the Queenslanders, to get up for this one. With everything that's gone on this week and last night, they'll be ready. And Wayne and all the ex-Queenslanders will be in there riding them, and they won't feel the pressure. They'll just go out there and just use the Queensland spirit.
Well, what are the fans like, though? Because you hear all these stories about, you know, taking trips past the Caxton Hotel and they're feral as all hell. And
best fans in the world, mate.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Best fans in the world.
I forgot myself again.
If I saw any New South Wales walking down Caxton Street, I'd chuck a little bit of a beer on them as well.
Would you?
Why not?
Waste a decent beverage on a lowly New South Welshman.
Cattle dogs.
Yeah. And it's a hell of an atmosphere up there this week. To be fair, like having these sort of Origins back to back is a little bit exhausting. To be fair,
Yeah.
You know, my emotional levels it's a roller coaster at the moment.
Up and down, up and down.
But we sort of spoke about last week about how big the State of Origin is for us, and it's probably one thing other than obviously winning a grand final. If I had the opportunity to play in the State of Origin when I was playing, would have been enormous.
How would you have qualified, though?
That's what I mean. Like if I could have.
We know Adam qualifies.
Holiday.
The Goldie holiday.
Yeah, that's right.
Just fly over. You qualify.
You spend a couple of hours on the beach in the Goldie, you're allowed to play.
Yeah, right, of course. That's
You got to
a couple of things before I let you guys go. Origin at the end of the year. How do we feel about that? Because usually it's a elongated thing that happens mid-season.
At this time of the year, you know, you're sort of going, man, we're still playing rugby league, even though you know it's State of Origin. You're going, man, you know, sort of, you know, I don't want rugby league to finish, but it has been sort of a long season. So yeah,
it takes a toll on your body, no matter where the game is, either after season or in the middle of the season. It still takes a toll on your body, and it's a tough game. And I think what they miss is the build up to the Origin, where it's the 2 weeks before they play a game, and then another 2 weeks off, and then you watch a bit of footy, you see a bit of form going, and they're like, well, he's the next kid that's going to come in. So you may miss someone that's performing at a really good level that should be selected. Those kind of things, you miss all that. But the hype around Origin may be a little bit lost because they don't have that middle 10 days before they play again, where the fans are just itching to watch rugby league and they want to watch Origin. Because did we have a break with NRL in that time?
No,
but you know what I mean. But everyone's itching to watch something, a high class and world class game, and you know, I think that's what we miss. I think now, for us, it's just like, yes, Origin's on next week, Origin's on again. So it's exciting for us, but for a player, maybe that rest after a big game where you can just go balls out, do the niggle, be aggressive, go and enjoy yourself, and then have a rest, go back to club level, and then get back up again, because you're just you're missing that feel of being in that environment and that full-on Origin feel. You go back to club and you're hopefully get a good win there, and then you go back into Origin again, you're just how good's this, you know what I mean? So it's that feeling that you may miss from coming out of Origin and then going back in, and how much more you want to be there.
So look, guys, thanks so much for your time again. Really appreciate it. And we'll do it all again after Origin 3, eh?
Let's go. Go Queensland.
Good stuff. Thanks for your time.